There we go.
Hi, everybody, and good evening. And clap.
Clap. Onto this magical ride. Number
Yeah.
2. Which one is the topic, Miss Maja?
Our topic for today is XXL awareness meets itty bitty allowance.
Yes.
So what does that mean exactly, or what were we? Yeah. How did we name this this Zoom that we come up
Exactly.
with this topic?
So we actually came out with this topic thinking about when you have those big tadams moment in your life and you're like, oh my gosh, like, and there is so much magic and so many possibilities showing up in your life, and then you can get frustrated, like frustrate yourself into trying to explain your awareness to everybody else, like your family, for example. Or just, well, what's we stumbled upon quite a bit was like not having as much allowance for them choosing the same as we would love to. So yes, this Zoom is about when you had so much change and like so much awareness and such a different take on life after like some classes, or even a conversation can do that, even a video, just a lot of things, like almost everything, if you're willing to receive, can create that, ripple effect of you getting to like, wow, I could choose more, I could be greater, there is more available. And then the allowance, these unknown, I have you talk about allowance, I'm not sure I know this topic well enough.
says this, the mother of 3 kids. Like, how much allowance do you need to have to deal with 3 kids?
And it's interesting because right there you brought up the topic of suppression and patience, and we can talk about those as well and the difference between that and allowance.
Awesome. Yeah. So allowance. Allowance is actually one of the 5 elements of intimacy, if I remember right, and which is, access defines intimacy with 5 elements, and one of those is allowance. And allowance is a very interesting thing because it's very easy to confuse it with some other things. But allowance is just that space where you don't have resistance to what is. And if you think about it, it's pretty futile. It's pretty like crazy and stupid to have resistance to things that are like, if I would resist like my shirt, like, would it do anything with it? No. So allowance is just a space where you allow everything to be as it is, and there's no resistance, there's no like this should be different. You're just like, okay, this is, and it's fine. And you can ask some questions afterwards, like if you can change it, but just the acknowledgement that something exists, that is already allowance. And here I would definitely say that some people think that allowance is being a doormat, which is definitely not. Like, usually people think that allowance is about other people, but actually allowance is about everything, and everything includes us. And allowance is something that if it includes us, then what if you would be in allowance with all of you, like the good, the bad, and the ugly? So what if you would start with you and start having no judgment about what is? So like huge steps, which is kind of crazy, but
I love how can you hear me? I'm not sure. Can you hear me, Maya?
Like,
Oh, you can hear? Yeah, you can hear. Cool. Sorry.
so that it's very important that understanding that, or getting that allowance is not being an allowance with everybody else but you, but allowance is allowing everything, and then you have choice, and your choices are also like, if you allow yourself to choose anything, that's actually also what we are looking for, and then asking a question, so actually what would I like to choose, and what would that create if I chose that? So anything else about allowance that you get that I didn't mention?
I love how you just took this phenomenal weapon and turn it around your, like, just point it on your face and start shooting in, like, allowance. It's not just for your family and friends. It's mostly and more of for you. Come. And it's just like, all right. And I like that you mentioned the elements of intimacy, which anyone that at a foundation might have had, look at. And I was just what
And
you
if
were
sorry, and if they haven't gone to a foundation, I would definitely invite all of you. After bars, the next step you can do is foundation. It's a beautiful 4 days with full of amazing life-changing tools, of some of which we will talk here. But if you would like to choose that, I would highly recommend it. And please find somebody, a facilitator, who is close to you or has a class.
totally. Yes, thank you. That is really. Oh, is it working?
Now I hear you.
Oh, good. So it's working. It's really an invitation to, like, expand this muscle of awareness, and in the meantime work with being present in this reality. So also having allowance, as Maya was mentioning, not just with the limited and somehow solid stuff that is around that we already know we have to deal with. So might be, I don't know, like the health system or educational system or any system that we know there, like it might be working in some area but not all of it. So not just facing this, but also be willing to be in allowance and be an interesting point of view, and with total kindness take care of yourself. And one of the things that I noticed that really um, amazed me with the access tool is how much we have the willingness to be an allowance of everybody else that we love and adore. So like a friend, I don't know, like a friend calling, it's like, oh, I failed this test, and we're like, okay, how does it get even better, I don't know, let's have a booze next time, you will pass it. Or do you want, I don't know, can I be there for you, can I be there for you anyhow, if you fail, or if if you win, I'm going to be there to cheer you along anyway. And one thing that the access tools, like on this topic, like invited me to look at is how much are we willing to be that for us, for ourselves. So what would it take to be the one person that has our own back every day?
Wow.
And for me, it was like a little bit harsh. Like asking this question was like, oh, I am miserably failing on that. Like I could with like anyone else, but not with me. But what would it take for you to have the vulnerability to be the most valuable product in your life? Which might sound like all a word somehow, but like, what would it take to just start asking, and eventually getting there, and then asking for more as well?
Yeah. I connected to this. I have a really a very favorite question that I sometimes ask. I even shared it in my Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to be that for yourself what you're willing to be for others? And like putting it that way is just like, wow, like we are willing to be so many things for other people. Like we are willing to be like kind and caring and blah blah, like so many nurturing things. And if we look at it for ourselves, like do we, and like do we allow ourselves to be the gift that we allow ourselves to be for others? And it's like sometimes it's no. And then what would it take to change that? And if you look at it that you can be that for others, I think it's a so much like a easier, lighter step to take to be that for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
love it. We had like we both like, let's say that the linear, I don't know, conversation we were about to have is like, what do you do when your awareness exceed your allowance? And then it's just going into so many different directions. And we both had, like, this past weekend we both had kicking passy classes. Um, both of us, we just have been, we chose to go with some classes and show up and be present. And now, we're really into applying the tools of how much allowance can I have for me. Also, seeing how I chose limited and not buying that into an unchangeable thing, but just to be like, okay, I chose that. Now what can I choose? Now what would be fun? So also be like in the creative age of your life somehow. Like, really, allowance for me is such a tool to get moving, to keep on moving, instead of like, I'm wrong forever and ever. But rather like, okay, what else? What if I stop? And also, I noticed how much like judgment really stop your creation. It pulls such a break of like, and wherever you're creating, you're not anymore. So yeah. So how much allowance can we gift ourselves that we have been kind of starving ourselves from? Feels like we deprived ourselves from allowance.
Yeah.
Everything that is can be destroyed and created.
Yes, please.
I did wrong and then but puggle night shorts, boys and beyonds.
And actually, I just realized now with this our conversation how when you choose allowance, then judgment just cannot exist. Like it's so beautiful how this thing that's so much in our world, how much it's so much out there, judgment, and then we have these really beautiful tools, just for example allowance, that can so dynamically change it. And for example, another tool that can really dynamically change judgment is gratitude. So if you have gratitude, then in the face of gratitude, just judgment cannot exist. And I get that it's quite similar with allowance. So what if there are just very simple tools that you could choose to get out of the judgment that you have of yourself or of anything? So what gift could allowance be for you? Yeah, that's an amazing question.
Wow, I love it. And I love how like for me, allowance was really such a thing. Like, allowance, not that interesting. Like, gratitude had more. And I don't know when, but like recently I heard Shannon talk about the elements of intimacy, which, just for the record, are honor, allowance, trust, vulnerability, and gratitude. And she was talking about how much they just like play with one another, and they just uh you know like, not catalyze, but like they they really play together as a team. So if you have one, you start having all the other one on an exponentialized level.
You know,
And yeah, sorry.
what I said is like they are like the five circles of the Olympics. Like
Oh.
like they are all interconnected. Like you cannot have one without at least having two other ones. And this is how the five elements of intimacy work for me, because they're, if you choose one, the others will kind of seep in and they'll appear even if you don't think about them. They're just like, you're just, oh my god, it's here. Oh wow, this is also here, you know.
Yeah.
It's like if you invite one, their friends will show up, you know.
I love it. Like ain't no chance to just have one. You don't get the chance to be picky with those pesky elements.
And how cool is that? Because if you choose one to practice, then you actually invite all of them, and they will show up.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love it. Allowance was such a thing that for me was like really like, yeah, maybe like I'll get to that later. You know that feeling of like, if I have time, maybe.
After getting the kids to bed, and you know, doing
Yeah.
all my work, maybe if I'm not too tired tomorrow,
Exactly. I might start to clean the oven just not to get to allowance.
yeah.
Because so many times you just dismiss it totally and you're like, oh yeah, I'll do it later, and you just confuse yourself into distract yourself from being present with one of them. And so and there really is a moment in this conversation where you get to, you know, we constantly get to be brutally honest about ourselves and our choices, and also be willing to be in allowance when we see how from a smaller space we were choosing and what greater possibilities we have available. So you can judge it and then you destroy all creation, or you can be in allowance and let it grow and let it expand beyond control, beyond anything you thought was vital to like hold in place your reality as it was somehow. And so really, yeah, we just at the post COP like Zoom with people, and this question was so much up there, like what if your allowance could exceed your awareness? And it's such a great question to ask after a class, or even just a beautiful conversation. And I'm actually so honored to say that with Maja we had today, but like outrageously often we have very nurturing conversation. And yeah, and when you realize that you could be greater than you are, what if your allowance could then exceed your awareness? And what if you could really use that like really on a daily basis? Is an invitation also for your awareness to grow, because she needs to catch up, not from competition, but like, you know. And the other one, so I wonder.
Yeah, and I would like to look at it a little bit like, you know, we said that we had just been to different classes with you have been with Gary and Dane online at the family class, and I've been with Brandon this weekend at the relationship done different class. And anytime you go to such classes, especially access classes, because they are so much about awareness, you like the awareness that you get, it's like your world, let's say before class is like this big, and then after class it's like it expands. And then you get so much more information, not not necessarily verbally, but it's just you get aware of it. It's you let things in your world, or your like awareness compasses more information, more space, and all of that. So, and every time, what I said, I think I said this to somebody just recently, that it's a little bit like when you train, for example, like you physically do something, and then you do something more than you usually do, like you run more than you usually do, or and then there is this little time where it's like it's adjusting, so your body is like, I'm not really used to this. So it's first, it's just like really weird, really wonky, really like uncomfortable, and really like, no, like there's this resistance and stuff. But if you ease into it, kind of like relax everything that's that you have resisted, or like you receive these informations, and it's just like interesting point of view is an amazing tool. Like interesting point of view, that I am so aware, and what would it take to have more allowance for all the information that I'm aware of, to be there with ease, with no resistance. It's just like, just be there and be with it, and not pull up walls against it, but just like, cool, it's there. So interesting point of view, that I'm so much more aware than before. And interesting point of view, I have that point of view that maybe this is not easy. And interesting point of view, that I have that point of view that this might be intense. An interesting point of view, I have that point of view that this should be hard work. Or interesting point of view, I have that point of view that I should resist everything that's new, for example. So like these are tools how you can, these are some ideas how you can use, for example, interesting point of view to ease up the awareness. And you know, after these classes, after such classes, this is so natural that you have like this intensity. And this is a beautiful way to allow to increase your allowance. And also, I mean, I see right now, I think the people who are online here, but quite a few people registered, and maybe you will see this without any background in going to classes, going to access consciousness classes. But in wherever you are in your life, sometimes you have an experience that dramatically increases your awareness, and some like you choose something that you maybe not even aware of, but it's just like boom. And then sometimes it can be really, really uncomfortable, like, and you want to just scream and go away and hide in a cave.
Totally. And it's so interesting. I love that you were mentioning, you were using a lot of adjectives to talk about like and for me the point of view was like a little bit the point of view of this reality we buy into, of the give and take, that to get more you need to give more. So there is like kind of an effort, a struggle, a something like a payment that you have to submit in order for you to have more ease. So if you're just, you know, the point of view of this reality very often is work hard, work harder, and then, you know, you like I mean, like in Italy, but I bet in Hungary it's quite similar. The point of view of like work your ass off and you will eventually get to somewhere. So, and which is, I mean, it's also true. There are action to be made. Totally. But what if you could have the ease of possibilities even after class? Like that space, that magic that is so palpable when you are in class. And I don't know, like for me personally, you make phone calls and I don't know, everybody answer or stuff gets so super smooth and just like it whooshes into existence with such elegance that you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I'll make another one, like please. And what if you could really, and I love what you said, Maya, about relaxing. So, like, what if you would really also thank also your body for all the work he's doing, and all how much our increased space of awareness has an effect on our body. Sometimes we sleep for days or would like to sleep for days, or I don't know, have sore muscles without really having been training much. And how much is the body like making us aware that yes, we have more space available, and yeah, we have muscles we didn't know of. We're gonna stretch them. We're gonna, you know, get aware of those as well. So
We have an online question. I'm so
oh,
excited
we
about our
do.
question. Yes, we do. Thank you, Irene. So the question is, what is more powerful, awareness or allowance? This is such a brilliant question. I love it.
I like it.
And what is more powerful? I I don't think any of them is more powerful than the other. I think the most important thing is that they should go hand in hand. So like anytime your awareness increases, it's really cool idea to ask for your allowance to increase and would say outgrow even your awareness, like to your allowance should be more like bigger, asking bigger for bigger and more allowance than your awareness. And this is like any time when you're like then this is such a brilliant question. Just ask for your awareness to be bigger than your allowance, to be bigger than your awareness. And I think they're both amazingly powerful tools, but I don't think that they are in a competition. I would say they are good friends, like walking with each other, and they miss each other when one of them is kind of
Aww.
especially awareness misses allowance very much when
Allowance is a little bit slower to catch up.
yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about like a trek, like when you go hiking, and I have 3 kids, so the younger one is not often, but sometimes he's dragging his feet and he's back there, and he has a brick, and you're like, why are you carrying a brick in, hiking in the mountain, and there's no, like, there is not a motivation, but like I was thinking about awareness, like going up the hill, like running and be like, and then you have that allowance, like dragging your feet and like, yes, I'm coming, but I need more, like I need chocolate or something to go to do the extra mile, because I don't feel like, like a little bit like pouting. But that's just a visual, that's a silly visual.
I love it.
But like really, I love what you were saying, Maya, about being good friends and how much they complement each other and they empower each other. And there is really this um, and this like mutual gratitude, that an acknowledgement that they're being for one another. And also there is, and not to make them so yeah, but I don't think that one could exist without the other. So they are crucial to one another, as they are to our life, really. And we are molecules of both of them, and probably of all the elements of intimacy and of undescribable, undefinable elements as well, like magic. I don't know what percentage, but I would say at least 97% magic.
I would say like 101, but
I like it. Don't let the 100 discourage you. Be more. That's true, Maya. That's why maybe everybody on this call probably has always been thought that they're too much, because we're more than 100%. I like it. Yeah. So yeah. But I love the question. It's really, yeah. What if there was no hierarchy, but just a mutual encouragement and
support.
And support. It feels like some symphony of possibility session going on between the two of them, like some empowerment and some magic and some just unlinear, undefinable space going on, and creation. And what if really we could also ask for like the universe support as we go through those phases of like a lot of allowance, and we feel like we lost our awareness, that it suddenly turned into something very small that fall on the ground and we're not sure. What if we could really ask this amazing partner in business that we have, that is the universe, to support us, and not not be the source of everything, but ask for contribution and ask to receive, even if we rather not receive because it's so uncomfortable, and like we are receiving so much already that even more feels like like no. um but yeah, but what if those were the moments where we could kind of surrender to possibility and contribution, and just be like, like, universe, can I have ease, please? Can I have more ease? I would say yes, please, because it's our previous Zoom. I think it just pair nicely. But like, yes, can I have more magic here? Can you show me? Can I have more possibilities here than I'm willing to see? Um, yeah.
And I love that you mentioned ease, because for me, allowance is also so much connected to the mantra of access, that all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory.
Mm,
Like, whenever there is no ease, joy, and glory with whatever situation you are in, then ask for more allowance. Because, like, any situation can, even like the harshest, the most difficult one, could be, or you could have ease, joy, and glory in it. And it's so funny how um, it was so. I don't know, who did I talk to that, like, was it you that you told, like, everything kind of like fell into place. It was so
mm,
so beautiful, like, all like difficulties came up, and then maybe it was somebody else. Difficulties came up, and then it kind of dissolved, and then more difficulties, and they dissolved. And this is how ease, joy, and glory is everywhere, or you can ask for it everywhere in your life. And even if you think something is shitty, some, like, there's a situation where you, like, say, this is impossible, this is hard, I don't know how to deal with it. Just ask for the ease, joy, and glory. And that is connected with allowance. You allow everything to be, and then ask for the ease, joy, and glory. And allowance will give the space of the ease, joy, and glory to actually show up in any kind of situation. So if you have allowance, that is the space that invites ease, joy, and glory into your life, wherever you are.
wow.
Did I say a meme?
Yeah, a very long one, but you cleared it. Like, you cleared it. And I was like, I need to take notes, and I was like, you know, okay. Yes. Wow, I love, like, I really need to listen to the recording.
It's like, these Zooms bring up really cool things.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
was it? I
That
think
was, yes.
it was Brandon who said something like, "I need to re-listen this class because I said really, really cool stuff that I cannot remember, and they just fall out of my mouth."
Where are they? Yes. Yeah, really. Yeah. And it's so interesting how, like, we are more brilliant than we give ourselves credit for.
Mm.
Like, following this, and the energy has such a kick of, like extrapolation and magic, and just like, um just this flow of everything going with ease and with just like this kick. And then in our, out of the Zoom, not in the facilitation mode, we wouldn't give ourselves credit for making the brilliance happen in our life with such, natural nothing, like really not even a behavior, just being you. So what would it take for us to claim, own, and acknowledge the brilliance we be, and the awareness we be?
For everybody on this
Oh
Zoom,
no, it was
everybody.
just for you, Maya, and me.
Oh,
Oh,
just, oh my God,
I
just
was making
thank you so
exclusion.
much.
Everything that is right and wrong, good and bad, fun and buckle, light, shirts, toys, and beyond. And for whoever might see those Zooms later on YouTube, this is the clearing statement, which you can, I do not know how to subtitle myself, but you can go to the clearingstatement.com and read more and listen more about it. There is a video and the Dr. they explain it. And for further information, you can go also to accessconsciousness.com, because like those Zoom do not have prereqs. So people might stumble upon them and look at them and be like, what the heck? So I know it's a little bit late, like 20 minutes on to do this disclaimer, but hello, we did it anyway. So
yeah, hey, exactly.
better later than never. So
And you're a brave soul if you have, endured 40 minutes without knowing anything about access consciousness or the clearing statement.
and really, yes, really.
Oh, awesome.
Wow. So I wonder, are there any questions? Is there anywhere particular you would like to go, Maja? What's next?
I'm curious if online people have any other questions, and if not, I would. There's something here that I would like to maybe address. So, maybe more about being in allowance of yourself. So many times what we do is allow other people to do what they want, and but we forget about ourselves. And how much ease would life be if you started to give the allowance for yourself that that you usually give to other people? And if you are one of those people who are not in allowance with others, and you get that you're constantly in resistance, like, what would it take to allow yourself to resist anything and everything as much as you would like to? Like, it's cool. What if I don't make myself wrong for it? What if I start enjoying the heck out of resisting anything, and just go into it and enjoy it, and keep it going, and like, how much can I resist this situation or this person, and just enjoy the fuck out of it. This is from Brandon. He used this expression lots on the weekend. So just really enjoy it, and go into it. Allow yourself to be there and do it until you enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it anymore, just like leave it, and then ask a question. For example, what else is possible beyond resistance? And also look at it that way, like, if you are one of those who like resisting a lot, how much has resisting brought you the results that you really desire in your life? Like, did it get you where you actually desired to get? And maybe some situations, yes, and look at it when it didn't work. And this is the time when it's also time to ask, so what else is possible? Like, what if I acknowledge where resistance worked? For example, let's say my mom wanted me to eat spinach, like, and I was like, no, no, no. And then maybe that worked, and then check it out how much it still works for you. So if this happened when you were 2 years old, good for you. You won the battle. and are you still behaving like a 2-year-old, or are you using only the tools of a 2-year-old, or do you have different tools? And can you, what else is possible there? What if you try a little bit of allowance? Just look at it and just try it. Just choose it for 10 seconds and see what it creates energetically in your world. And maybe not even energetically, maybe that energetic choice will invite something totally different to pop up, and see what that is, and acknowledge it if allowance brought you to another space or brought you another result, and what other tools can you use here also? There are so many tools in access consciousness, and you have, like, even if you just watch a few videos, you'll see lots of them. Like, how does it get any better than that? What else is possible? These questions are also tools. We're not looking for the answer, but we're looking for awareness. So yeah, so resistance versus allowance. So what if you allow yourself to be as resistant as you can be, or as
I love that. That is also, that's really giving you the permission to be as, stomp on your feet and just throw a tantrum like the 2 years old you truly be, and just like, yes, enjoying. Idiko is writing, I'm doing this already. My husband asked me when I want to be normal again. I love it. Like, Gary told to his younger daughter when she was like being, I don't know, like grumpy, he would call her with a different name and he will send her to her room and say, come back when you're ready to be happy. And it feels like your husband is doing that with you, and it's very funny, like, go in your room and when you're ready to be happy you can come back. And I'm like, I think it's hilarious, like, and yeah. And oh, what is it? When I'm starting to work, maybe. I was never normal, Annie. You should know. Hello. And if you were crazy enough and brave enough to stick with me, some adventures are, happening soon. Keeping on rolling. And it's so interesting. I love, Maja, thank you. You were talking about like all these tools and playing together. And I was really just in this conversation seeing how much all the 5 elements of intimacy are, like, there is just, intimacy is like, it feels like it's just one organic entity, and then one pops up more. So like allowance, but allowance has all these elements of like vulnerability and honoring you and trusting you, like also trusting you're gonna be, I don't know, like a rebel, or you're gonna be resistance, like super resistance. No? For example, how many of us have been like really identified as with the resistance like we made, and what if like receiving, for many of us, like I know personally for myself, receiving the energy of like surrendering or like submitting to something. So it was not an option, like not on the menu, not my color, like, I'm not receiving. This girl is not receiving. I'm gonna, which was like so interesting. But like, what if also you trust that you would go there? That you have some like go-to behaviors that you might have chosen because they worked, they allow you not to eat the spinaches like little Maja. So hello. That's being pragmatic, and you can be as resistant as you like, but and then what other choices do you have that no one else has? And with the access tools, I get that one piece of this conversation is that you have choices available that no one else has, and you increasingly have choices available that no one else has. And you really need to like be willing to be vulnerable to this change and be vulnerable to the brilliance you be, and also go against this point of view of the struggle and of the fairness, and just like thinking that we're all on the same path. We're not. You might be on a very different path. You might be choosing to go on the uncomfortable path of consciousness, which includes you, includes all the molecules, includes the earth, includes everybody around you, includes your body, and that's freaking brave. And what would it take for you to give yourself credit for that courage you are being? And also, yeah, really, this element of like be vulnerable, trust that you will choose limited until you need to choose limited, and then you will choose something else. And Yeah, so it's just really like this ball of all elements that then one pops a little bit more, but they are really connecting and connected and intertwined. It feels like really on a, how would you say, like really organically working together, like an organism of consciousness.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe even, I know we have used this expression maybe for some different things, but it's a little bit like a symbiosis.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one doesn't or cannot even exist without the other one. They're just,
Mm.
and they're just greater. So, and I was wondering, like, so when you are like when you ask for more allowance, it's interesting because what comes for me, the more trust shows up, for example, trusting that things will work out, for example. So if you ask for more allowance, then automatically somehow this knowing and trust shows up that the universe actually supports us and has our backs. And you can ask for that too. Universe, please have my back, please support me. And this is so much connected to allowance. And there was something else that I wanted to say. I'm not sure if I will remember. But so the other elements of intimacy, so how do they connect? So when your allowance, then this trust shows up, and also so interesting, as soon as I start to speak about allowance, there's vulnerability also shows up as an energy, even like to have allowance, you need to lower your barrier. But it's so interesting, you just ask for allowance and these other things automatically happen. Or you can choose another tool and then allowance comes with it. So if you ask for your walls and barriers to be lowered, and you're like, okay, so all my walls and barriers go down, and there's instantly um, allowance is appearing hand in hand with this. And what was the other one? Um, like, mm, was it honoring, or honor? Yeah. So how much? So let's say you ask for allowance. Uh, to ask for allowance in all of your life, uh, somehow honoring of you, honoring of everything around you is also like it's gonna be there, like at least a pinch of it seeps into the world. um, and what else what so I talked about trust, I talked about honoring, I talked about vulnerability, and I'm missing one.
Honor,
Honor.
honor, trust, allowance, vulnerability, gratitude.
Gratitude. Yeah, gratitude. And so if you ask for more allowance, what if, yeah, I get that gratitude for everything can also appear at the same time when you ask for more allowance. So so it's a nice and tricky thing how these the five elements of intimacy really show up, and it's enough to invoke kind of one of them, and then
Hmm.
the other four will follow. They will be like little puppies, like, I want to play too, I want to
Like you invoke them, and invoke sounded like very like
play.
serious, and you're like the little puppy, and they're like, here, yes, I'm here, I'm ready to play. Yeah. And actually, one thing that really I was thinking, like, thank you for, like, really this energy of the little puppies. What if there's like goofiness and playfulness and just like um, careless joy was available even in the moment when you're like take yourself so seriously. And usually when we take ourselves seriously, we're not in allowance because we're like, I have a problem or I have a harsh time, and therefore I will keep on having an harsh time. And we're really like into the um like I just say like we're consistent about it, like we're really strong about it, like this is my problem, let me explain the ways in which I cannot make it, I won't, or I'm doomed, and we don't really go into the sense of humor of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I am an ostrich and I want to put my head under the sand and not see everyone or anyone for like, I don't know, 10 days minimum. Like I no, I cannot even see myself, I need to just you know go off for some time. And what if there you really use the sense of humor you have, and it might not be, the sense of humor that makes other people laugh. It's just your merry-go-lucky take on life that you have available. And even if nobody understands it, I yesterday I had a beautiful night with some friends, and it was a clarity night, and there was this the host, she was so happy about, like, she was laughing about stuff, and she was like, I know I'm weird, but I really like myself. I have a lot of fun on my own because I think I'm really funny. She was hilarious, and she was such an inspiration to be like, I don't really care if anyone gets me. And for me, it was like, "This freaking funny. I never knew, And she was like, oh, I like myself. Even when nobody laughs, I like it. And it was just such a kick of like, really merry-go-lucky, not stressing yourself into making it right, perfect, and significant. And, but just like, I, yeah, I know how to make myself laugh. What if every one of you had that capacity? Everywhere we are not claiming, owning, and acknowledging the capacity we ourselves have to make our life easier and more fun. Can we just try and uncreate that, please?
Oh yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, hot and hot, full nine shorts, points and beyond.
I love humor, and I think it's when things are very contracted, humor can really ease up everything, and that's one of the things that I really look for in friendships and in my relationships. And for example, one thing that I love about my partner is that he has such a capacity of, like, when I am like, he makes a joke, and I totally the energy changes so quickly, and then it's like, okay, I'm over it, I'm done. Or sometimes I'm like, I'm really angry at you now that I cannot be angry at you because you made a joke, and it's so funny.
Yeah, and what would it take to have more of that? I love that you mentioned like having people nearby that make you laugh or just have this sense of like, oh, we can take it seriously and then we're going to stay here until the cows come home, or we can make a joke out of it and then it will dissolve in like matter of seconds. And really, what would it take to also institute with some kind of this like support with a friend, and so send one another a silly picture or whatever we thought that was hilarious. I have one, Maya knows it anyway, I found, anyway, I have many things that make me laugh because I have a wicked sense of humor. But yesterday, we this is, oh boy, I hope you can see. Anyway, this is the cat of the person I was at, and she was so incredibly fat, and she really didn't. She was like a hot dog with like furry hot dog, and like she made me laugh. The way she didn't care about anything made me laugh so hard. I was like, oh my gosh, can I take a picture of her? She just doesn't care. I love her, and she doesn't really I'm gonna like. And anyway, back to the other thing. What would it take to have like people in your life that you can also always count on, that can that won't go into your story and won't take you seriously, but would are really happy to listen to you, to be present with you, and not take yourselves as seriously as you're taking yourself in some moments, which, you know, what a gift would that be? And we can just ask, what would it take to have more funny people to play with in my life?
Yeah. I think I made that a requirement for my friendships to have humor. So it was like there was one time when I was thinking about like what do I really enjoy about being with other people, and then I made like a short list. It was not more than 4 or 5 things, and then I'm like, I think these are important things. And then it was interesting because I didn't make them up. I actually recognized what is important for me. So it wasn't like, okay, I want a red Porsche, or like things that I don't have. I just looked at it how I have been choosing friendships, and I looked at it like, oh, humor is really important, because there are some really nice people, but if they don't have humor, I get so bored so quickly. So it's really important to have good humor.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I
So
love it.
yeah, and it really, if somebody has good humor, it really increases my allowance for them in my world.
And also through them, you increases your allowance of yourself, because they might be able to see the most outrageous shit that ever, and you, instead of being angry at them, you'd be like, oh, just sorry, I'm taking myself so seriously. Whatever, I'm done with it.
We're gonna end very soon, and
Yes.
I just wanted to look at like one small topic that came up previously, but I remembered it now. Like, how can you recognize that you have too little allowance in your world? So I think this is an important question, and maybe should have addressed this at the beginning, but we are very crazy, and we address things whenever they come up. So what are some of your tips, Chiara? Like, when do you notice that your awareness is just way beyond your allowance? Like, do you have signs that like like you're like, no, Maja?
I do have a sign, but it's regarding the allowance toward myself. It's when I cannot stand myself. I usually harass people around me, so I become very, and I think I'm outrageously funny anyway. But I go to people and I'm just like, I don't know. Can you imagine a woodpeck being on them, like, can let's do something for me? I need to change something, and I'm like constantly there, and then I'm like to myself, I'm like, get a life. What are you doing? Like, why are you being so bothering with anyone? Um, and yeah, so when I cannot stand myself, even though I think it's funny, but I know that I'm using like humor to distract myself and not to receive and not to be present, for example, there I know my allowance is really going down the drain, and I really need to be present for a moment instead of like keep on doing and going. What about you, Maja?
I think we had that conversation previously. There was one day when I I wanted to go somewhere, and it took me like half an hour to get organized,
Oh.
to get like my car keys, my car papers, my normal keys, house keys, and I needed to go and print something, and the USB drive, and like this took me half an hour, and there was one point when I was like, ah! So like then I know that definitely my awareness has exceeded my allowance, and then I need to ask for more. But actually, anytime when something is very very intense, like when it's like like this. I had one of these days just before the class on the weekend we had, and I kept and lowering my barriers, and I'm like, okay, this is just more information like coming me at the speed of space, and what would it take to have ease with this, and more allowance of the amazing awareness that I'm having. So yeah, so this is actually usually my usual sign that when, and also I know that I need to have, for example,
Bars run.
bars on definite like to increase your allowance. One of the most brilliant tools is have your bars run. Please,
Yeah,
please. If
really.
you don't know what bars is, you're watching this, just type access bars and or access consciousness and look for a bars facilitator near you. And bars is just an amazing tool. I think I have told several times my partner Andrash, I looked at him like, what have we done before we knew bars? Like, how did we survive?
How come we got to like our 2030s without bars?
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
Bars is a brilliant tool.
yeah. Well, Maya, thank you for this brilliant conversation. I'm gonna re-listen to it very soon. So,
Thank you so much, Chiara. And I hope you guys also enjoyed it. And we will send you the recordings very soon. We are not going to say like how much time, just keep it at soon.
exactly. Be an allowance of yourself when you're gonna be opening, refreshing your mailbox, and of us, which I don't know. I'm going to have dinner now, so
Yeah, and thank you for being here and listening to this. And hope to see you on another Zoom or in person or in class. Let's see what's possible.
really, thank you, Maya.
Thank you, Chiara. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.